Welcome to the channel. In this video, I'll be talking about my most played games of all time. Keep in mind, this doesn't necessarily mean these are my favorite games of all time. These are just the games I put in the most hours into for whatever the case may be. And if you have some games that you put in the most hours into, I would love to hear them down in the comment section below. Now, without further ado, let's start this. First and foremost, let's talk about Breath of the Wild, because I thought Breath of the Wild was a flawless game. When I first played that game, I actually thought that was going to be my favorite game of all time, and I actually thought that was a flawless game. Now looking back, my stance on that game has absolutely changed, but I still love that game, and I have so many memories with that game. That game is one game I'll just never forget for the rest of my life. Something about that game really stuck with me, and I would absolutely say that back in 2017, when that game actually came out, it actually kind of ruined my life, just because every single day I was playing that game, and even when I put that game down, all I can think about was Breath of the Wild. And it didn't help as well that the Switch was actually portable as well, so I was so obsessed and so addicted to the game. It was probably for about 3 years that I was so obsessed with the game. It was the only game I can 100% remember that I never wanted to ever end, honestly, and I tried to delay beating that game. I actually put in about 400 hours into the game. That's how much I absolutely love the game. I think the reason I love the game so much is because it did a lot of different things that other games absolutely didn't do. Like, for instance, it's a game where you can pretty much do anything you want. It didn't hold your hand as well. There was no long tutorial to bog down the beginning of the game, no cutscenes or anything like that. You pretty much just got out of the cave and then right onto the Great Plateau. And then after that, you were pretty much, for the most part, able to just walk around, roam around, and explore as you were. And then, of course, they did give you an incentive to try to explore with those things called shrines, which were pretty much just little mini dungeons. And I love the concept of that. I pretty much did every single one in the game, at least from what I remember. And yeah, I just loved everything about that game. That game in particular, I loved so much. Believe it or not, this might sound kind of strange, but I actually didn't even use the horse. I didn't even fast travel to the shrines or anything like that to speed up the game. I actually walked everywhere in that game. And yeah, I just love the whole aspect of whatever you can see off in the distance, you can go to. I love the environments. I love just everything about that game. And that's one game I'll never forget. And yeah, I had so many memories with that game. And honestly, that was a reason to buy a Switch back in the day, and I don't blame people for buying a Switch just for that game, honestly, because that game was an amazing game back in the day and kind of mind-blowing, especially the first time you played that game. Honestly, if I can go back to 2017 and relive the first time I ever unboxed that game and started playing that game from the main menu, damn, that would be awesome. But of course we can't do that, and it is what it is. But the memories will last a lifetime for me with that game, and that game honestly does hold a special place in my heart, because there's no other game that really left a big impact on me than Breath of the Wild did ever. There's not many in that game for sure. Now, the next one on my list is actually the Left 4 Dead series. Those games in particular, I put in over 1,000 hours in between Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2. I remember my friend brought over Left 4 Dead 1, and then after that, I bought Left 4 Dead 2 right on release date, and I actually got the pre-order bonus of the baseball bat for Left 4 Dead 2, but I just love Left 4 Dead because I think it's a really nice, just relaxing game, depending on the difficulty, of course. All you're really doing in Left 4 Dead is just going from area to area and just shooting zombies in first person with guns. That's pretty much it. And then, of course, they mix up the gameplay with different special infected, of course, to try to break up the gameplay, so you're not just shooting zombies. You'll get things like the boomer, you'll get things like the witch, and some jackals and different things like that, and that's why I love the game. I love the fact that specifically Left 4 Dead 1 was very horror focused, and then Left 4 Dead 2 wasn't so much horror focused, at least when it comes to the maps and things like that. I think that game was set in Louisiana or something like that. But yeah, I love the whole world building of those games. I also did love the fact that in those games as well, the characters that you're actually playing in that game are really connected, and I love their voice lines and everything like that. Like, for instance, in Left 4 Dead 2, you'll have Eli, I think, and then you have the coach, and then you have Russell, I think her name, something with an R. I can't completely remember all their names, but that's some stuff that I remember about the game. I will have to admit, though, Left 4 Dead is not a good game if you're playing by yourself just with the CPU bots. Because the game's very repetitive and it's not really the best experience, and it does get old very fast. You're better off playing with friends, or you're better off playing with strangers online. Even so, I can see some people just not liking Left 4 Dead, but for some reason Left 4 Dead absolutely clicked with me, and I'm actually really sad they never made a proper Left 4 Dead 3. Now, I know there's been some Left 4 Dead clones throughout the years. Like, for instance, a couple years ago, they tried to make one called Back 4 Blood, but Back 4 Blood definitely didn't hit for me like Left 4 Dead 3 actually, Left 4 Dead 2 actually did. And a lot of people actually agree with me, which would be the case, which is absolutely a shame because I've been looking for a game that's similar to the Left 4 Dead series, but I just can't find one. So I end up coming back to Left 4 Dead because I just think it's a really nice game to just play with your friends every once in a while and just shoot up zombies. I just love everything about the Left 4 Dead franchise. Will we ever get a Left 4 Dead 3? Nah, most likely we won't get a Left 4 Dead 3 because let's face it, Valve is a company that doesn't like the letter 3, the number 3 for some reason. So most likely we won't be getting that. We won't be getting Half-Life 3. We won't be getting Portal 3. There's no way we're going to be getting other games that Valve has made with the number 3 because I hate it. But yeah, so many memories with the Left 4 Dead series that I absolutely love that game. And that game is just an amazing game in my opinion. Kind of repetitive, but still a very fun time, especially if you're looking to play co-op with other people. And it is also one of my, if not my favorite zombie franchises of all time. Yes, I said it. There's just something about that game I love playing around the holidays, especially Halloween. I just love that franchise. Now, the next one on my list, I'm just going to lump them all together, are definitely roguelike games. I put in so many hours into these roguelikes games, whether it's Enter the Gungeon with about 500 hours, whether it's Dead Cells with 200 hours, whether it's Slay the Spire with about 400 hours. I just love the concept of roguelikes. And prior to these games, I actually never played proper roguelikes before this, and I didn't really understand the genre, but now I absolutely love the genre. And I think roguelikes work especially well, especially if you're on, like, for instance, the Nintendo Switch or the Steam Deck and things like that, because they're meant to be played on the go. In my opinion, they're very replayable. They have a lot going for them. They're also pick up and play games as well, and I love the roguelike genre to begin with. And there's so many different kinds of roguelikes as well. One of the most popular ones, of course, being Hades. So many people love Hades who don't even like roguelikes to begin with, but yeah, Hades is an amazing game. They're actually going on to make Hades 2 game. But yes, Enter the Gungeon really resonated with me because it does remind me a lot of Borderlands, in my opinion. Just the fact that you had a lot of guns at your disposal, and then it did help as well. I actually got really good at Enter the Gungeon, and I love the fact too with these roguelikes, not just Enter the Gungeon. I actually love the fact that all of these roguelikes, hands down, really do have a lot of mechanics at their disposal that you gotta learn. And I love going to the internet and trying to learn everything about these roguelikes and things like that. And I love the fact too that these games were really, really hard, that it took you so long to actually beat these games. Of course, depending on your skill, but for the most part, they're hard games when you first start them and you don't know how to actually beat the game. That's why I actually love these games, and I put in so many hours into them. I really do wish actually they would have made a proper sequel to both Enter the Gungeon and Slay the Spire. Enter the Gungeon does have a sequel, kind of. It's called Exit the Gungeon, but it plays slightly different than Enter the Gungeon, so it didn't speak to me at all, really, and I didn't really like it from what I played. And then Slay the Spire, they never made a Slay the Spire 2. I know there's been a lot of card games that are similar, that are kind of roguelike deck builders, but they're just not for me, honestly. I tried Monster Train, and I tried another one on Switch that was kind of like ice themed. I can't remember the name of it. I think it started with a W. You guys may know what I'm talking about if you are into those type of games. But yeah, Slay the Spire I like so much just because Slay the Spire reminded me a lot of regular TCG card games, and I'm a big fan of TCG card games. If you didn't know, I like Yu-Gi-Oh! I like Pokemon. I like Hearthstone. I like Magic the Gathering. So I like card games. So I think it was a very good fit. You take a roguelike, and then you also take a card game and you combine it, and then you pretty much have a very good formula. And that game I was addicted to for so many years. And yeah, I still play that game once in a while, honestly, because something about that game really resonates with me, and I love it. I love the fact, too, that that game is super simple. If you're not into traditional trading card games and you find them too complicated, or you don't understand them, or you can't make a deck or anything like that, you may actually want to check out Slay the Spire, because Slay the Spire is one of those games that's very simple math for the most part, but it still does have a lot of strategy when it comes to the actual gameplay of Slay the Spire. So yeah, you should definitely give Slay the Spire a shot. Even if you don't like TCG card games, you may like it. And the nice thing about that game is, as well as you're playing with the computer, so you're not on you don't have to worry about your turn taking, you don't have to worry about rushing your turns because you're playing with the computer. You can take as long as you want when it comes to your actual turns of the games. And then they also have different difficulties in the game as well, if you're just trying to start the game and trying to figure out everything the game has to offer. Fun fact, I actually love Slay the Spire so much. I actually, as of right now, I have no desire to ever go back to traditional card games like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic, Hearthstone, and things like that, just due to the fact that I find those a little bit too complicated. I like the fact that Slay the Spire is actually simple, but still has a lot of strategy built into the game, and I really would wish they would actually make a proper Slay the Spire 2, because there's no other game like Slay the Spire for me personally. So there it is. And then the last one I have, at least for this video, I may make a part 2 or a part 3 in the future if I can think of some other games to put on the list. But the last one on the list is definitely the Borderlands series. I love the Borderlands series. For some reason, Borderlands 1, when I first played it back in the day, did not click with me, but then Borderlands 2 clicked with me, and Borderlands 2, I easily put in over 1,000 hours with the base game and the DLC of the game, and I loved every second of Borderlands. That's why you owe it to yourself as well to replay a series or a game over, because the second or third time you replay it, the series may click with you, and that's what happened with Borderlands. If it wasn't for Borderlands 2, I would have never fallen in love with Borderlands, but I absolutely adore the Borderlands series. There's just no other game like it, just like Slay the Spire, and that's something to be said, because I always look up games that are similar to Borderlands, because I played Borderlands to death and I want something similar. But every time I try to find a game that's similar, for some reason they just don't click with me. And if you didn't know what Borderlands is, it's basically looter shooter RPG. That's the best way to actually describe it. So it's full of loot. Like, for instance, things like, if you play Diablo, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but with guns when it comes to Borderlands. And then, of course, you do got the RPG elements. You got skill trees. You got different classes. And then, of course, you got different skill points you can put into these different abilities and things like that. And each class has their own abilities you can actually equip. Fun fact, apparently they are making a Borderlands 4. And when Borderlands 4 comes out, I'm going to be super excited about Borderlands 4 if that does come to fruition, because I love the Borderlands series so much. I have nearly close to 2,000 hours in the whole Borderlands franchise for sure. I just absolutely adore the Borderlands series. There's just no other game like it. I also love the fact too, if you never played Borderlands, it may, if you just watch a little footage of it, it may look like you're run-of-the-mill shooter when it comes to the gun gameplay, but let me tell you, you would be absolutely wrong. When it comes to the gun gameplay of Borderlands, it is very unique. There's so many different guns in that game and so many different grenades in that game. It is a very unique game, at least when it comes to the gameplay. And the gameplay, when it comes to the guns, it is very satisfying and very rewarding. And also, they do have different guns in the game that'll do so many different things. So it's not your run-of-the-mill game. Like, for instance, you have a class of guns. When you reload the gun, instead of reloading a magazine, you actually throw the guns like a grenade and they actually explode. And then you have some that'll actually throw on the ground and become little turrets, at least in 3. And then you have stuff too where you can throw a gun and it goes up into the air and then spins around and shoots and things like that. There's so many different things in Borderlands. That's what makes Borderlands so fun. And you're constantly switching guns in Borderlands, which is something I absolutely love in the game. Just opening up a chest or killing an enemy and guns are coming out of the enemy, guns are coming out chest. There's so much loot in that game. It can be overwhelming at times, but that's the charm of Borderlands, and that's why I love Borderlands. The combination of an RPG, the combination of a looter shooter just really does speak to me, and it's still going to be one of my favorite games of all time for sure, and there's no other game like it in my opinion. I can easily play that game. I just love the Borderlands series, honestly. And if you haven't played Borderlands, you should actually give it a go. It's pretty much on everything now. You can play it on the Nintendo Switch. You can play it on the PS4, the Xbox One, the PS5, the Xbox Series X and S. You can also play these on the Steam Deck. You can pretty much play these anywhere you can get games, even the PC. Yes, this game's everywhere, and it's still one of my favorite series of all time, and I don't regret ever playing that game. And I'm actually glad I actually played that series, because now it has gone on to be some of my favorite games of all time. Not only that, the writing in these games are amazing. Maybe not 3. We can all admit 3 was a dumpster fire when it comes to the actual story of the game. The Calypso twins, I do believe they're garbage or whatever they're called, and the story is just obnoxious and really bad. But 2 had one of the best writings of any video games, hands down. It had a villain called Handsome Jack, and Handsome Jack was an amazing villain. A lot of people agree. The writing in that was phenomenal. And then, of course, Borderlands does have some of the most memorable characters of all time. You have Claptrap, you have Tiny Tina, you also have Herbert from one of the DLCs from 2, which you can kind of call him a pervert, because he is kind of a pervert, honestly. But yes, I love that game. And fun fact, you can also play Borderlands with different people. I think that's also what makes Borderlands such a freaking good game, is the fact you can play co-op with other people. Up to 4 other people can play Borderlands with you. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I just wanted to share some games or game franchises that I put in the most hours into. I may make a part 2 or part 3 of this if I can think of some other game franchises that I really do like or really put in a lot of hours into. I'll have to look at my hours on different platforms. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne signing out.